So today we have Alexandra Callner with us, who is a hypnotherapist, and I want to thank you for coming in on such short notice, but kind of take us through a little bit of what you do and where you're located.
Okay, I'm located online virtually, which is everywhere, but I live in Brevard County in Melbourne, and I have an office in Merritt Island, downtown Melbourne here, and a home office as well. And I got into hypnotherapy about 15, 20 years ago. But the reason I'm talking to you today is I have come up with another protocol using hypnotherapy for trauma release. And it's so unbelievable that it's just changing people's lives left and right. And I am just so excited about it. And I'm working with veterans and other people that have just been in talk therapy for 20 years sometimes. Nothing's changed within 3 months.
When you kind of get into this career, how did it come about? I mean, is this something like one day you're like, I'm going to be a
Oh,
hypnotherapist?
God, no. Um, like everyone else, we have patterns and we do the same dumb stuff over and over, marry the same person over and over, date the same jerk over. We just do the same thing and we wonder why. So I remember people were telling me, you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to know you can do it. And I thought, well, yeah, but how? How do I get that belief and change? So I ran into a man named Dr. Shad Helmstetter, and he wrote the book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and he's one of the pioneers of neuroplasticity training. So I started studying with him, and I just saw how to rewire the brain through visual imagery, through self-talk and everything, and it worked so incredibly. I lost like 15 pounds, like with doing nothing but self-talk, and I went, wow, this is powerful. But it still wasn't enough to really help people. They had to listen to the CDs, and people don't want to be bothered. They don't want to put the work in. It was like learning a new language. So I started doing hypnosis, and I started noticing a huge improvement. Then I came on with this new protocol, which is timeline therapy, NLP, and some other things. And it just became incredible. My life changed within a year. I went from renting a room with a friend, just looking around going, how did I end up like this, to we have a beautiful home, I'm engaged again, my business is thriving, and it was all through the switching of perspective through this program. And I went, I've got to share it. So I studied for about 3.5 years, and then I'm doing it now, and it's just having incredible results. So it was a long, hard process for me to overcome myself.
Right. When people think of hypnosis, or at least when I think of hypnosis, not knowing anything about it, is it like the old imagery where you have a clock and you're ticking in somebody's face and like count slowly backwards? Like what really happens to somebody when they
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because when you hold up the pendulum or the spinning thing, all we're trying to do is distract your conscious mind, because you're going to argue with me. If I'm telling you you're going to start thinking about what you have to do tonight, the fight you got in with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Your conscious mind will take over and analyze everything. So what we do is, like, I don't use a pendulum, but people can. You're watching something. It's giving you I have people look up and then close their eyes. Then we do visual imagery, and all it is, 100%, is just being open to suggestion. When you're watching and you're interested in something, and even a commercial comes on that you're interested in, you're hypnotized right then. You're actively focused, you're interested in what they're saying, and you're open to their suggestion. That's it. You can have your eyes open. I don't do that, but I talk to my clients. We have interactive conversations, and they come back out, they're like, I don't even remember what you said. And then I've taped it on, they're like, oh my God. And it's amazing. You cannot be made to do anything you don't want to do. You're not going to quack like a duck or bark like a dog unless it was a stage show and you wanted to participate.
Right.
You're going along with it. Your resistance is down. No one's forcing you. And so I just get people in an extremely relaxed, suggestible state. Then we put these positive suggestions in their subconscious. And that's why 6 hypnotherapy sessions are equal to 600 talk therapy sessions, because we only learn by repetition. People learn by practicing. And this hypnotherapy puts it in, and then when I give them the self-talk and a few other assignments, they wire it in. And their lives, they literally change within a month.
Do you ever have individuals that come to you or that you talk to and they're like, nah, this isn't going to work. And this is hokey pokey. You're just taking me for a ride.
Every one of them. Almost, I can't, 80%, they're just like, oh, it's my last resort. I've been seeing a talk therapist for 20 years. I'm on antidepressants. My family, like, I'm going to try one more thing, and I heard about this. And then it works. I have like I'd say a 96% success rate.
So somebody going through whatever trials and tributes and trauma that they've had, at what point are they finding you on the internet? Are they talking to somebody? Like, how do they end up in front of you? Or
it's almost 100% referral.
Okay.
They see the change, like what happened. I mean, I can't give away names, but I'm taking people who have bought a gun and said, I will do this one last thing, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to kill myself.
Wow.
And you pressure, right? And I'm like, and we do it, and within a month, they're like, I'm a different person. They're like, I just have this joy. And I found it very hard to believe, too, until I went through it, and I was like, I don't even know how this works. I mean, it's almost magical, although it's not. You know what I mean? It's a process. And but you can actually feel the stuck emotions sometimes leave your body. Like, people tell me, I felt like there was a mist that rose out of me. People tell me they're not having headaches anymore. They're not having body aches. If they're not an actual injury, if they're psychosomatic, it's unbelievable.
What exactly is a hypnotherapist? Well, because you have a few different things here.
What country you're in, and it depends on what state you're in. I think in Florida, I'm not allowed to be a hypnotherapist. I'm called a consulting hypnotist. It's just verbiage. What I do is clinical hypnosis. That's the difference. I come in and I don't do birthday shows. We don't do funny things. We relieve phobias, stresses, anxiety, pain management. People give birth with hypnosis and they feel no pain. Dentists, I work pre-surgery, post-surgery. You heal something like 72% faster if you've had hypnosis than if you haven't. It's amazing. But my thing is not just hypnosis. I'm one of about 1,000 people in the world that do this specialized trauma release. And that's why, because I never talked to anybody about my hypnosis. It was okay. It worked. It worked like chanting. It worked like yoga. It was nice. And, some people had better. This I'm so passionate about because I'm seeing people who did not want to live, and within a month they have joy.
So when you're dealing with these individuals that are dealing with what they're dealing with, is there the whole thing like you're going to count backwards from this, and then when I say this word, you're going to come out of it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Man,
I should hypnotize you sometime.
Yeah, I
would demo. I'd love to. I'd love to. I'd love to take you through a few sessions so you could, because it's almost impossible to relay to somebody what I do. And I'll tell people, and they look at me kind of like you're looking at me, like, mm-hmm. And then they do it, and they're like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, but isn't it wonderful?
We have a good friend. His name is Matt Lavore. He's pretty high level, high end magician.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of the shows that he does is subjective NLP, I think you said, right? And that's what does NLP stand for?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes. And I've seen him do some like pretty wild things where he would have people look at like the Eiffel Tower and completely not know how to say the word Eiffel Tower. So I do believe it can be done. He's never done it to me, but it's pretty wild. I think it'd be really cool to have something like that done and see it.
Tell me the time and we can record the session. I'll be happy.
Because you must get a lot of people that are like, this is hocus pocus. This is witchcraft. Or
I had one lady who was close to 80, and her son sent her to me because she was just, again, so depressed, not able to get out of bed. She had her other son living there since he was 15. He was a drug addict. He was being abusive to her and her husband. She couldn't deal with it. The son said, can you do something? She had never talked to anyone. Catholic lady, thought I was crazy. One of my favorite clients, she didn't even, I think it was a month and a half I saw her. She sold her house. She bought a motorhome. She kicked her kid out. And I get postcards every once in a while. She's loving life now, 80 and driving a motorhome. And she just said, I'm doing what we had to get through those blocks. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people say, well, I thought I'd do it and I'd give it a try, but it seemed ridiculous. And then they're just like, oh my God. I had an MMA fighter who very violent tendencies, and he called and he said, I don't know what to do because I'm going to kill somebody. I would go out with my family. Someone looks at me wrong. Someone bumps into my kids. He goes, I can't control myself. I worked with him for 2 months. He said nothing. People bump into him. People cut him off in traffic. He said, I feel nothing.
What was it, do you think? So he's not like in a continued state of hypnosis, right? So what changed?
I'll tell you what it is. And it's just like a image. It's not actually the way it is. But picture Christmas lights. So you have a little light bulb, then the strand, a little light, and the whole long. Picture your brain as dozens of emotions and everything, and there's strands like that all tangled up. So let's say a guy goes into a bar with his girlfriend, wife. They're sitting at the bar. He gets up and goes to the bathroom. He comes back. Another guy's talking to his girlfriend. Has no idea they came in together, nothing. The guy comes out. Somebody gets shot, stabbed, or there's a big fight. Overreaction, we say. It's not what happened. He got triggered. But what got triggered was every time, every one of those little lights went off when his parents humiliated, when he got beat up at school, when the girlfriend left him, when he lost the job promotion, and they all fired because he never released them. So they take this instance, which should have just been like, hey, buddy, she's with me, and it triggered that without him knowing it. It's subconscious. It's like lightning. It just happens and everything fires. And people say, well, I'm a hothead. That's what... I get rid of all those past emotions. You can't even remember. You remember the event, but it's like a dream. You're like, I know that happened. You can't feel it anymore.
Seems like you're also teaching people that these reactionary things that they do where they say, oh, I'm just a hothead. You're teaching them that those are just excuses, that they're not dealing with the real problem.
And here's the real problem. And since I trained with Dr. Helmstetter, when I realized this, you can't help the way you are because you have neural pathways, the electrochemical pathways from the moment you're born. And you get programmed. You get programmed by parents, family, television, school. It all happens to you and it goes in there. You don't even know if it's good or bad, and your brain doesn't know if it's good or bad. Your brain just knows it is. It's not right or wrong, anything. So when something happens to you, your little car that runs you is going to go on the strongest pathways that you have. And it's just like learning another language. If I go to you and you don't know Spanish and I say, ¿Dónde está el baño? You're like, and then...
What did she just call me?
Yeah, you don't even... But if you understand Spanish, where's the bathroom? But you had to hear it maybe a couple of dozen times, a couple of 100 times. You had to put the sentence... That creates a neural pathway so that Spanish is no longer a foreign language. You have to create the chemical neural pathway to speak a new language. You have to create those pathways for success. Success is a different language. You don't go down that rabbit hole. You sit there and it's like something bad happens. You don't go, why me? Or that jerk took my job, or that person,
That's what people do, though, right?
That's what people do, because that's the road, that's the on-ramp,
right,
that their stuff is going. So what I do is we go in there and put the new thinking in the subconscious, so it's there. Then I give you self-talk to listen to in the background. You don't even have to, you can do you're supposed to do other things. So it starts wiring it in chemically. All of a sudden you have a new road.
Right, without even knowing it.
And it's just like if you met someone who comes to America and they say, oh, I came to America when I was like 14 and I used to speak Polish, but I didn't speak anymore. Now I'm not that good at it. Your pathways can start to decay too. So when you start using the positive neural pathways for the new way of thinking, the old ones start to crumble and you have a new mindset. It does, and this happens faster. You can do it. You can do it like by going to talk therapy, and the therapist says, believe in yourself. Believe in 600-800 times, and you finally get it. You go to me, and it's the longest I've ever seen someone is 3 months. I have a 7, 9, and 12 session program, and that's it.
I was actually going to ask you about that, but before I ask you that, I had another question about it. So these people are going through these issues, and you're helping them not just deal with it, but you're helping them kind of reprogram their train of thought and whatnot. It sounds like you're also helping them put in ideas of questioning their own beliefs.
Well, we have in the program, there's a whole, because we release emotions in a certain way for certain reasons. You're like anger, sadness, depression. We go through a list, and there's a reason. It comes off like layers. And there's another one we get down to, it's called limiting beliefs, because everyone has limiting beliefs. And I had a limiting belief for years. I lived in Los Angeles, so I thought a woman that turns 50 is invisible. That was my thing. You had to be a 20-year-old model for even a guy in his 80s to want to pay attention to you. He's going to want a 20 or 30-year-old. That was my belief. And I created it. I would go out to dinner, wouldn't even look up because I thought nobody is interested. I created it. The minute I got rid of that belief, I'm engaged to someone 15 years younger than me. And I always thought a woman doesn't buy a house either, because my family didn't. You got married and then you bought a house. A woman would never do that on her own. It didn't. And then I had to get rid of that belief. I have a house. But we don't realize we have them. They're things we just think are true, but we made them up. We made them up, and we've got hundreds of them. So we release those too. And it's what it is, like the woman I was telling you about, she was close to 80. She had come from another country, and she had been raped by her father repeatedly, raped by her brother, sold to get the brother's car fixed to a mechanic, came to America because her husband moved here, got stopped coming through Mexico, being illegal, coming through Mexico. They stopped the truck. They arrested her and the kid. She spent time in a Mexican prison with 2 young children. She had to sleep with the guards to keep her kids safe. She's never told anybody this. You don't think that's affected her? We release those emotions. And the funny thing about this program, it's not just you talk through it and you say, oh, let it go, it wasn't your fault. When you're done, like I would say, okay, I want you to go back and I want you to think of that. Do you still have that horrible, whatever the feelings are? And she'll go, I know it happened, but I can't grasp it. It's like a dream. When you have a dream and you can't quite remember it, that's what this program does. You cannot attach the feeling anymore to the event. And then we do another thing where it's an amazing thing. It changes your perspective. So by the time you leave, much like you've done with your life after I read about you, you take something that happened to you and you turn it into something that happened for you, even if it's being gang raped. What did you learn? What about you is better now? I'm stronger. I've protected my family, no one's ever been hurt. I got involved in changing a lot. Something good comes of everything. And when they see that, life changes for you. You're living in a state of gratitude.
It's probably like a switch going off for the first time, and they're seeing things through new eyeballs.
You don't know the sobbing tears I get, and they're like, I have people call me and say, everything looks a different color now. I go outside and the sky, I've never seen the sky that color before. I've never seen the grass that color before. And that's why I'm so excited, because it changes you into a state of gratitude from anything. And you just don't have that crushing weight of what's happened to you anymore. You almost feel elated, like, look what I got through, look what I accomplished, look who I am.
It's like grabbing a superpower.
It is, and I've seen it now. I've seen it personally 24 times, because this is a new therapy for me. I've only been doing it about a year. And I never talked to anybody about being a hypnotist, because I can help people stop smoking. I can help people not be afraid of spiders. This is unparalleled. And I just worked with a couple of veterans who could not leave the VA. And I'm talking since the Gulf War.
Wow.
They have not. This one that I'm working with was so damaged, he just won a house in the villages from the Wounded Warrior Project. And he called me, he goes, I attribute it to our work together. And I was like, well, that's ridiculous because I didn't have anything to do with you winning a contest or being nominated. And he said, no, but I was so depressed and had such guilt and self-hatred because he was in special ops. And the things he'd done, he couldn't forgive himself. And he said, I'm so different now that when I got nominated, I could fill out the paperwork. I could go to the meetings. I could write my story. And he goes, I won because of he goes, I wouldn't have even gone before. Stop drinking. I mean, it's amazing.
So you've seen some amazing transformations
beyond.
with people.
I would not, like I said, I've been a hypnotherapist. I would never come on your show because I thought, I don't have I'm just like every other hypnotherapist.
Right.
You want to quit smoking? Come see me 6 times. Hopefully it'll work. This, I can't tell enough. I tell people who are just standing in line somewhere because I've seen the difference. And I'm getting choked up. I've seen people who didn't want to live. And they're like, I'm cooking for my family again. We're doing this. We're going here. I have joy again. I mean,
no, it sounds like it's a great outlet for somebody that is just they're lost, and putting them back into a world where they can be more than what they thought they could be. You said the average person has how many sessions with you?
9 to 12.
9 to 12,
Yes.
and it's once a week, once a month.
Once a week.
Okay.
Once a week, and
How long is each session typically?
And that's another thing. I don't get too full because it depends. I can have a person come in, and if they have a lot of anger, the session can go 2.5 hours because they're under, and we're going through each event in their life that they remember that caused them pain, who they hate, what they did to them. We go through and we release that. So I don't hurry anybody along. I take about 2 hours between clients. And sometimes they're 25 minutes long, sometimes they're 2 hours long, and I've only had one person that we had to do 3 sessions for anger, each 2 hours long. That person had, what had been done to them was unthinkable. And they're fine now.
Do you ever have people that go through the 9 to 12 sessions and then, they're still using the tools that you brought them, but sometimes they need a little, buffering, a touch up, and they come back and say, hey, can I get a couple more sessions with you? Do you allow that?
Oh, God, yeah. I'm always available, and it's never for the same thing. What they'll come back, they'll say, I'm back in school now, and I have test anxiety, I realize. So I'll do just a simple thing for test anxiety. But I've never had to do someone again because we have a special process in this. So once let's say something happened to you, and I go in, I have a way to put that event in your mind that it could happen to you again. So if you can't handle it, we do more work. If you can handle it in the future, we make sure you're not going to get triggered again. If something happened to you again, it's a whole new separate phenomena, and you can deal with it.
Do you ever leave these people with at the end of a session, you say, now, between now and next week, this is what I want you to work on. And if you feel this happening, try this.
We don't need it.
Don't need it.
No. What I do give them an exercise. I give them MP3s that I make that are the self-talk.
Right.
And they're usually a little volume of 4. Let's say if it's self-esteem, there's 4 little 8-minute things. And you literally listen to it when you're cooking breakfast in the morning, maybe when you're driving, when they're putting their makeup on or something. You don't study it. You don't pay attention. It's the same way you learned your first language, by hearing.
So it's all subconscious.
It's subconscious. It's going in there. It takes 3 weeks. So I give them something. I'm like, I want you to listen to this little catalog, every day, 15 minutes. That's all. And then after every 3 weeks, I'll send them something else to build on it. And the only other thing I do is another self-talk exercise, which is called switching. And that's simple. You walk downstairs, you get to your car, you forgot your keys, and you go, oh, I'm an idiot. That goes in there. And do you know when you say I'm an idiot, even though you're just kidding, your brain actually stands up and goes, okay. And have you ever noticed when you have a bad morning and you get frustrated, the morning gets worse and you forget your keys, you lock yourself up? Your brain's actually helping you do that.
Shelley, does that ever happen to me?
That happens often.
it's happening because you will say, I can't remember names. I never remember where apart. And do you know your brain actually says, okay, we'll help you. That's why you were saying the guy can do that when he's like the Eiffel Tower and they can't see it. It's called it's called negative hypnosis. Something can be right in front of you and you can't see it.
Is this similar to like when you see a lot of parents? I just saw something. It might have been on TikTok this morning where this kid opened up his refrigerator and he went to grab the gallon of milk and he didn't know the cap wasn't on it and he shook it and milk went all over him. And his dad's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Nobody put a cap on the milk." And his dad said something like, "What, are you an effing idiot? Why did?" So the dad's calling this kid an idiot. Obviously,
that's one of those lights. That's the guy at the bar. My dad called me, and could just that. Then the other kid at school.
Like, I had to take this my whole life from my dad. I'm not taking it from the guy at the bar.
And it's not a conscious thought. It's subcon. It's like I tell people like this: you do not have a problem. You do a problem. You're not this thing. We all do things a certain way, right? Like if you and I went grocery shopping together, I get my cart and I go to the produce section first. Then I go you might go, I go over here and I go to the wine section. And everyone has their little subconscious ways of brushing their teeth, doing everything. It's the same with the way we live our life. We have these patterns and I disrupt that pattern. So I find out what your trigger is, because you'll have a trigger. Then you'll have a thought, and you don't know you're doing this. Then the thought goes into a feeling. Then the feeling turns into an action, and it's split second. It's faster than a split second.
Is there any relevance to when you talk about how long it takes to form a new habit? Because if somebody comes and does one session and says, "I don't need any more, I got it all figured out," there's a time they need for this, right, to form the new habits.
Absolutely. It takes 3 weeks to create that's why you're not creating a new habit. You're creating a new neural pathway that allows you to do what you're trying to do. That's why if you do something every day for 3 weeks, you'll learn how to do it.
Right.
But it's not because it took you it takes 3 weeks for the chemical electrical process to form a neural connection that says, I know how to do that now. That's why we just moved here in February and I'm still learning my way around. It takes me, I realized it takes me about 6 months to and then I'm like, oh, I remember where that is, because I haven't created the neural, but I'm not stupid. I just haven't driven all these ways enough.
I live on my GPS.
Yeah.
If it's not on GPS, I'm like, yeah, I'm not allowed to go there if it's not in the maps.
If you're here another couple of years, you'll something that was very confusing will be not confusing because of the neural pathways that are formed. So, I go in and we erase these negative emotions, and there's a very strict protocol on how to do it, and it works. I am starting to work with therapists now, and it used to be that, don't step on my toes. I had a client, and she had a therapist. She was ready to get a divorce. She came to me because she said, I just don't have the nerve. I want to tell him, and I want to get up my courage. And I was like, oh, that's not what I want to do hypnosis for. And I said, why don't you do my Hypnofit program and get rid of whatever's going on? She says, okay.
Well, Hypnofit.
Hypnofit.
What is that?
That's what I do with the timeline, NLP, talk there. That is the program. Hypnofit is a specific program for releasing trauma and stuck emotions. It's this woman, Helen Midas, in Australia, developed it 20 years ago, and she's actually no longer doing it. She's on to something else, but I learned from her, fortunately, and it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Yeah.
So your audience that you work for, or work with, I should say, is it mostly men, women, older, younger? Is there do you do kids?
No.
Okay.
I don't have any kids. I don't relate to kids, and especially nowadays they don't really talk, and
they suck.
I can't get a reaction. I don't know what I'll say. How was that for you? It was okay.
You mean I can't do this on TikTok?
Yeah, and and I also, since my passion is trauma release, I find that 7, 8, 9-year-olds, unless it's been really, they don't have a lot of trauma. They're,
So what's the age where
I like to start in the 20s.
Okay.
I like to start in the 20s, and then the age limit, I would guess, is just into the 80s because it's the same. You can't do little kids because they won't pay, they can't pay attention. You can't do real elderly people because they won't pay attention. So,
can't.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of middle. I do from about, most of my clients are in their late 20s to their 50s. I kind of that range, but I'll do
Men and women.
Oh yeah, and I have equal amount. Yeah. And I just can't say enough. I mean, I'm happy to I'll do the program on you so you can see for yourself.
Yeah, let's set up a session. Can we record it?
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend.
Okay. You can't. No, you don't need to.
So you're in Melbourne now, right?
Yes,
and you
I
moved here from
West Palm.
West Palm. Yeah, you're
And
out there
then
by
before
us.
that, I moved from California.
Shelley, she lived over on Lake Avenue, over right before the bridge, or right before the bridge or over the bridge.
Lucerne, right across the street from the Gulfstream Hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was our neighbor. We didn't even know it.
Yeah.
So obviously now you live here in Melbourne.
Yes.
But your clients don't have to be here. You can help anybody anywhere because of the internet,
I
right?
had Australia last night. So
Australia.
1 o'clock in the morning was their daytime, and I did a session there. Yeah.
So when he asked you where you live and you said Melbourne, he thought you were in Australia.
Yeah. No, But yeah, I do. And then I do have some people, in person if they're local. But it works. I didn't know what to do during COVID. I thought, oh, no. And then I said, let's try Zoom. And it works beautifully because all you have to do is close your eyes and listen to my voice.
So let's say, actually, Shelley, can you go over to her website for a second? So on here,
Yes.
when somebody books something with you, let's say they're going to do Zoom, right? Because
Yes.
they're not here. Now, if they are here, they can obviously meet with
Yeah.
you. But on Zoom, this is your website. This is what people will go to, and that's obviously you.
Yes.
So does it go through here? Scroll down a little bit, Shelley. Does it have any information that they need to get ready for?
No,
Or do you send them a
what they
separate
do-
email?
What they do is I offer a free 45-minute consultation. And so I don't do a quick 15-minute come and see me. I'm like, I want to know what your issue really is, because if I can't work with you, I'm not going to do something I can't do
Right.
or won't benefit you. But the first session, I won't take, if somebody just says, oh, I heard about you, I just want to do it, I need to talk to them.
Right, because you never know, right? It's not for everybody, correct?
It's not, I would say, no, it's not for everyone. And if people who will not give up control, like if they don't trust me or if they, if they just like, they think they know better or whatever, it won't work. You have to kind of surrender and just try and not be afraid. And, but I'd say 90% of the people that come to me are fine.
And most of the people that you end up helping or working with comes from some sort of a referral or somebody seeking, they know they need help. They're like, I've tried everything.
Yeah.
I've tried chewing nicotine gum. I've tried reading self-help books. I've tried going to church.
And they're like, I know I want to go over there, but I can't see. Oh, I was saying when I had this client I did, and she wanted the divorce, I came in and we did Hypnofit on her. And I said, let's release some of the stuff that's going on with you. Because what you're telling me your husband's doing and what's bugging you,
She was blaming
everything on him. And I said, tell me what he's doing. Is he cheating? Is he lying? Is he verbally? None of it. And I said, let's work on you because something's triggering you. So by the 5th session, she was like, we're more in love than ever. And she goes, it was all me. She goes, it was my ego and not understanding. I thought he was like it was those light bulbs of what happened to her before. So when he said something, she'd get triggered and think he was out to get. When she got rid of that, she goes, he doesn't trigger me anymore. They're renewing their vows. They just were in Utah picking out the place they're going to get married outside in Utah. They're redoing their ceremony.
Did you get an invite?
Not yet. But her therapist that she had been going to see through the whole marriage, the marriage counselor, she called me and got my number for her, and she's like, what did you do? She goes, they couldn't even get through a session without getting in a screaming fight. And I actually started seeing her therapist.
Really?
Yeah.
You're seeing her therapist?
I'm seeing her. No, she's
Oh,
seeing
gotcha,
me.
gotcha.
The therapist is seeing me, and she goes, I thought I released all this stuff. And she goes, I'm going to be honest, I just want to see what you do. And I said, okay. And
Do you think initially she was coming from a point of, what is this?
Yes, no, she told me. She goes, I want to see what this is. What are you doing? It's like, I believe in hypnotherapy, but I've never seen this.
Right.
And so I said, I'll do it on you. And so we've had 5 sessions so far, and it was so funny because she goes, I just don't have any anger. I don't have I've worked through everything, tears, crying, and it's been beautiful. She goes, I didn't know I had this stuff stuck because you have to know how to release it. There's an actual physical way to release stuck negative emotions.
So you personally, you've gone through some stuff that's kind of got you to where you are. It was a long bus ride to get here.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of the obstacles, the hurdles, the roadmaps you've had to go through? That's the podcast is called Failure to Launch. So how did you get here?
What happened was I've always kind of have an entrepreneurial spirit, but I was raised kind of like you get married and you find someone to support you. So I tried to do both kind of all the time. Didn't work out. But when I would do my own business, I still had that thing in my limiting belief was I need a man. I need a businessman, and he'll kind of help me, and I can just ride his coattails even though we may be partners. So I started a cheesecake company. Found a partner through a friend of mine. Turned out to be one of the worst human beings I've ever met. A liar, passing counterfeit money, cheating on his wife, physically abusive, tried to rape me more than once. I mean, it was horrible, and I was a mess. I didn't even, and people say more than once, I didn't even know how to leave. I kind of blamed myself. Then did I misunderstand? And that finally fell apart. I started another business, a dog care business, and it went great. And I started making about 10 grand a month, rented this big house, big yard, pool, had this whole dog thing set up, got license, got a partner there too. Another gentleman. I thought, oh, he's going to fix everything. My pattern. This man's going to come in and just take care of everything, and it'll be good. Well, we started making money. He decided not to pay me anymore. He left town. He was Chinese, very wealthy. He left town for 2 or 3 months, left me with 25 dogs. I almost died. I mean, it was round the clock. They lived there. And he came back home, and he bought me a big bag of dried apricots as my gift for working 24/7 for months.
This was a gift? It was like, hey, you've done such an amazing job. Here's some dried fruit.
Some dried fruit.
Wow.
And so that ended. I just said, I'm retiring. You can keep them. I'm leaving. So I left.
What happened to the dogs?
Well, no, they were other people's.
Okay.
I'm like, we're closing down the business. So then time goes by, and I start doing something else, and I'm learning new things and everything, and I meet a woman who's helping me, and she says, graduate with her, and she's like, can you help me on a project? And I thought, oh, my prayers have been answered, but now it's a woman, so I'm going to be safe. It's not a guy. He's not going to try to use me or anything. So she's like, can you help me on these projects? Yeah. So I go thinking it's going to be like some of this therapy and self-stuff we're doing. She goes, I want you to clean out my pantry and help me organize my garage. I didn't have the self-esteem to say, that's not what I do, or how much you're going to pay me, what are the, no parameters, just, okay, just hoping this person likes me and it'll turn into something else better. Well, after about 2 months of killing myself, working, never offered to pay me or anything, and one day she goes, you've done such an amazing job helping me. I'm going to compensate you and you're going to be thrilled.
Finally.
Okay, finally. She comes back from the store with a bag. She pulls it out and she has 2 bags of dried mangoes.
Come on, get out of here.
Swear,
another fruit gift?
Who gives anybody dried fruit? So at that moment, I looked at it like the giant hand of God hitting me in the back of the head with a bag of dried fruit, and I went, I gotta change. Why am I so scared to say, what's my compensation? What are my hours? How do I want to be couldn't do it. I didn't have the balls to stand up for myself. So I was constantly under everyone's thumb, getting married. Oh, it's okay. You don't treat me that well. I'm just, I'll just stay out of the way. That woke me up. That's when I found Dr. Shad Helmstetter, because I was just like, how do you reprogram yourself? That's what I couldn't figure out. I went to Tony Robbins. I went everywhere. I know what I should do, but I still don't feel that way.
Right.
Love yourself. Think you're beautiful. Think you just, If you don't, you don't.
So question about this, so because you mentioned like Tony Robbins. So you did I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. That's why I'm asking. So now that you are where you are and you found what worked for you, now when you hear like Tony Robbins and other people, does it click differently now?
It clicks differently, but my opinion, totally, it wasn't enough. Like he does the NLP and that's amazing. And someone else do the hypnosis, that's amazing. But then when I saw the hypnosis, the NLP, and the talk therapy and realized this is how your brain rewires naturally. And if I put those three things together along with timeline therapy so we can actually go back and erase those emotions. So Helen had this program that was as close to what I wanted to do as I've ever found, and then I changed it up to have my own spin on it, and it's like a miracle. It just works. And
so what is your thoughts and feeling towards these two people that thought dried fruit? Like, do you feel, how do you feel towards them do you feel like they taught you a lesson that?
I think that it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I think all three of them. I even think the guy who he tried to trip me and then land on top of me and then he was an elderly man, so he even walked with a cane, he'd fall on top of me and try to
like sexual?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Try to drip my clothes off, and it was, I don't even need to forgive anyone. I'm not even mad. And I look back and I'm like, that happened for me. If those things hadn't happened, I still would be some very unhappy housewife somewhere, married to somebody or alone, just wondering why I wasn't happy. And when that happened, especially the last one where she hit, the bag of the mangoes, I went, thank you. Because if it had been anything else, I don't think I would have been bright enough to connect it. But since it was 2 bags of dried fruit, I went,
Please tell me somewhere in your house you have a picture of dried fruit.
I have a little bag of dried fruit that I keep on my desk to always remind me that I need to be my authentic self and say no when no is called for.
So do you feel like, so when a lot of entrepreneurs, we'll use successful people, and I don't just mean successful like financially successful, people that are happy.
Yes.
Do you feel that many of them have gone through prior, what society likes to call as failures, or I like to call them as lessons, but do you think that many of who we see on top right now, they've gone through stuff that we just don't know about? Absolutely. Because they're where they are. We're like, oh man, they're so lucky. Look at what they're doing. They don't know what they've been through.
There's not one person that's really successful that hasn't. I mean, unless you're talking about somebody whose family just had a business, handed it to them. But, then there's other problems that come with that. But yeah, I don't know of a person that you read all these wonderful books like Jack Welch, all these top guys. They went through such trials and failures. I mean, even look at Elon Musk. This goes wrong, that goes wrong. They don't stop. They have the mindset that I learned and that I give to people. It's not a failure. It's like, oh, okay, that didn't work. We try this now. That was a lesson. They have that mindset that it happened for me. I'm not a failure. They don't think they're a failure. People like Michael Jordan and stuff, they just keep going. They power through it. They learn by it. That's what this program does for you. It gives you that mindset where you don't have those limiting beliefs anymore, and you're willing to just try and learn.
Do you believe that something bad that happens to somebody, whether it's rape, loss of a child, something horrible, do you feel every one of those opportunities that if you try hard enough, you can find something positive that will come from that?
I don't feel it. I know it because I've seen it. I dealt with a man in the war who could not get over shooting a 5-year-old in the head. The family put a explosive in the baby's diaper and sent it to the truck, and he had to kill the child before he finally left the VA. He's not there anymore. He can sleep at night. He's not having nightmares. You can find something, even if it's I'll never do that again.
Right.
I'll advocate now for laws change. Doesn't matter what it is. I mean, the one woman who was, raped in this other country, I said, have any of your children ever been harmed? And she goes, no, because I knew what to look for, and I never. And I said, you stopped a generational cycle of abuse. Your mom had been abused by your grandfather. You got abused, and I said, look what you did because of what you know. And she had a sense of pride in that. She kept 2 generations of daughters safe. They're all lessons.
I believe probably what makes you good at what you do is I mean, it could be just some kind of a natural talent, but I know if I was going to go out and look for something like this and I was searching, one of the thoughts that might come through my mind is this person just went and read a book and took a class. I want somebody that's been there and been through it. So you've.
So that's what I tell my clients. When they tell me something, I go, I used to do that. I know just. They'll say, oh, I went with this guy and he just like this booty called. And I'm like, I wasn't someone who just came out, married my high school sweetheart. I did every stupid thing you could do and kept self-sabotaging. I know what they're and I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. So that's where it started. So when these people come to me and they say something, I'm like, I feel you. I know what you're talking about, even though thank God, I've never been raped or,
Right.
But I've had kidnap victims who couldn't ride in a car.
Wow.
Couldn't ride in a car that are now able to be passengers in a car. And and it was all through Hypnofit because they had to release and learn what wonderful thing happened to them.
Have you had people that you dealt with now that because of COVID, they're locked in their house, and let's say somebody's in a domestic type of a domestic violence type of a relationship. Now COVID hits, everybody's working from home. The woman, the man, they're stuck in the house, and it's like you're trapped with your abuser. It seems like something that's probably risen in the last couple of years.
I've only had 2 cases, and it was one that comes to mind right now. It didn't work out the way I'd hoped. Her husband's an alcoholic, very controlling. Her girlfriend went through it, and she saw this massive change. So she wanted to go. She started coming to me, and she was changed. I think she came twice. Her husband saw the change. I've never heard from her again. She goes, my husband's really upset. He doesn't like that I'm speaking up now. He doesn't like, and I've never heard from her again. She's never returned a call. So maybe
we should check on her.
No, I think from what he wants
shut
to
it down.
Keep the status quo.
Yeah.
But
do you ever have people that come to you and see you in secret? Like they don't want their spouse to know?
I haven't that I know of yet. See, I wouldn't know.
Right.
I wouldn't say, are you going home and telling your husband? And I'm under the same, I'm not legally, but me personally, I abide by the same HIPAA laws. So if you called me and you said, is she coming to see me? I would say you'd have to ask her. I won't even tell you if I have that person in an appointment.
Do you ever see sex offenders?
Yes.
And if you did, if they disclose something, would you have to report it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I tell them, and I said, if you're going to do something, if you're going to harm some, don't tell me. And I'm not a talk therapist too, so people don't really have to tell me what they're there for.
Right.
I don't need to know what your issues are. Like you can tell me, I was molested at 5. I told my mom, at 9. I went off to a boarding school. I need to know maybe headlines, but
right.
We don't get into it. It's I just need to know what emotions you're holding on to. So if you say I was molested at 5, I'd say, when you think about that, how do you feel? And you'd say angry, hurt, scared. That's what I deal with, not the issue.
Do you find that the people that were molested or whatever, does it usually affect the adult relationship they might be in now?
Might. It affects their weight. I have never had somebody overweight that didn't have major trauma somewhere. I mean, I'm talking over, because I like to work with bariatric patients that are 300 to 600 pounds overweight.
Okay.
Because I love to see the change. It's just so drastic. Every one of them, some sort of a death, abuse, something heavy.
And food is what coping.
Yeah.
That's the trigger.
Yes, and food, alcohol. The people who I've seen that have nothing sometimes are smokers. Sometimes it's just a bad habit they picked up to try to look cool.
Right.
And they might have a little anxiety. But I have never had somebody who, even people that say, I'm fine, when we get into therapy, we've all been hurt by someone. We all have anxiety. We all have been in a depression, even if it's in high school and your high school sweetheart broke up with you before prom. You hang on to those things, get stuck in your body.
When someone comes into and walks through your door, what is their biggest fear about peeling back the layers? Like, what do you think at the end of it, when they realize who they were, who they are, who they want to be, what do they identify and what they wish they had done different?
Well, at first they're like, oh my God, if I had known that's what it was, I would have come years ago. I've been on Prozac and Xanax and Valium for 20 years. I don't need any. I wish I'd done it sooner. The thing that sometimes people have a problem with, the only thing that happens is when we release anger. The first session, well, it's the second session, but when we release anger, they're like, I feel so much lighter. I actually feel physically different. But then the other emotions start to bubble up, and I get phone calls. I can't quit crying. I'm so anxiety ridden. I'm like, next week we're going to do, that is the only thing. And scared, they just don't want to think about it again. They don't want to go back there and think about it again. It's very difficult. And, but mostly like after the second session, I never have anybody that doesn't want to come back because they're like, everything has changed. It's like a veil came off.
Right. That's what I'm imagining. I'm imagining somebody that was so scared of what they thought it was going to be like.
Absolutely.
Like if I tell him what I'm really thinking, or
even
even you, like when you were afraid to talk about the money and your worth. I don't want to bring that up because what if
And the thing people think that hypnosis, so many people don't know what it is. And one of the biggest things they think, can I get stuck in it? Like, one girl goes, well, what if you died or something in the session? And would I come out? And yes. I go, if you didn't hear my voice for about 1.5, 2 minutes, you'd either fall asleep and then wake up, or you'd wake up like, where is she? There's nothing. You can never tell somebody something. Like, I couldn't get something out of you that you didn't want to say.
No one's going to get lost in ether.
No one gets. It's not truth serum. So I could ask you, you didn't want me to know. You don't say a darn thing. I can't make you do something you wouldn't normally do. That's why quacking like a duck, barking like a dog happens. But you'll notice in stage hypnosis, they get maybe 20 people up there, and you'll notice they do little things like, oh, you've got a book and a balloon. They're just seeing who's suggestible and will go along with it. So you'll notice they either send people back to the audience, or they don't pick the ones who don't do you watch it next time you see one.
I always wonder. So I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist at times. I try not to go too far into it because you can really get lost in that crap. But like with a lot of these school shootings we've seen over the last couple of decades, it's come to a point where we've become somewhat immune to it, and it doesn't have the effect. And it's always been like high school. It's like, a bunch of high school kids got killed up. Who cares?
Yeah.
This time it happened at an elementary school. A lot of little kids died. Yeah. I've had this weird, or maybe I have a weird mind where I'm like, this would make a great movie. But do you ever think there could be something at a young age of a child where later on in life there's going to be a triggering event, like maybe where some kind of a crazy government agency says, all right, we've tried to control guns by having kids go shoot up schools, and it hasn't worked. So this time we're going to turn on this guy, and he's going to go kill a bunch of kids this time, because maybe that will get the message across. Do you think there's things out there like that because we're talking about hypnosis?
I do, but I think that is more like mind control, where you'd be like the CIA, where how they teach people to go against torture, and you can actually go. That is a form of hypnosis. That's not. I mean, that takes.
Right. I'm not saying that's what you're doing.
No, but I'm saying.
Do you think that exists?
I do personally. I don't know if it does.
Right.
I have no knowledge of it, but yeah, I think that there's. I used to be married to a man, my ex, whose stepmother was Israeli, and they knew some people in the Mossad and stuff, and they go through years of training. And we were out this is when I lived in Beverly Hills, and this guy was out in the back, Avi, and he got burned or something on the barbecue, and he didn't
even
react.
flinch.
And he goes, I have training. He goes, you can't hurt me. He goes, you could cut off my finger and I could be somewhere else.
Wow.
But that's a whole, I
Right.
mean, that's brain, that's
It's like sleeper cells and stuff.
Yeah. That's, that would take.
But I guess the extreme side of it is with what you're doing is suggestive, right? But you're doing it for good, obviously.
And I even say,
could people do it? Could people use your talent for bad if they wanted to?
Not my program, because the way it's designed to release negative emotions. So I'm trying to think, if I wanted you to like go rob a bank.
Like here, I'll give you this example.
Okay.
The lady that came to you that was not happy in her relationship and he did this. Let's say you, Alexandra, as a person, deep down inside, you hate men.
Right.
Could you have led her to a belief that she leaves him?
Yeah, if I was a real asshole and I was an unethical hypnotherapist, but a therapist could do that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's no different. I mean, not because of hypnosis. I could just put her under and I could be like, you don't need this man. You're fine on your own. You don't want to be with him. He's not nice to you. I'm just putting those
Right.
suggestions.
Because it probably does happen with therapists too, I mean.
Yeah, and see, that's another thing I've got a big beef with. I have such good training and I work. The woman who taught me hypnosis has been a psychiatrist in Boca Raton for like 40 years. She's really well. I didn't go get my credentials online for $10. I paid thousands, and it's
Right.
been years. And so I even have a little beef sometimes with every hypnotherapist or any kind of thing. How do you know they know what they're doing? How do you know?
Great question. So let's say somebody reached out to you and for whatever reason they weren't a fit for you, right? And they said, well, I'm going to go talk to other people. And is there ever a point where, I don't know if you have this in place now, but could you say, look, I get it, we're not a fit. I'm going to send you this free thing and whatever, and it's going to have a checklist in here. So whoever you do talk to, these are some common things that you want to kind of be aware of, because these people are coming in a vulnerable situation, which if you had bad intentions or even subconsciously bad intentions, I would imagine, how do you ensure that you are still always learning and making sure that your ethics are always being,
A couple of things I do. I'm certified by the largest hypnosis guild in the world, the National Guild of Hypnosis. I'm also certified again through the American Hypnosis Academy, and I'm certified through Hypnofit Australia. So, and I show in my office, and every 3 months, this is just me, you don't have to, you only have to do it once. Every 3 months, I take continuing education classes, and I have 2 mentors that are psychiatrists and, clinical social workers. So if there's something that I'm not sure about, I don't do a thing till I talk to someone else. And if there's still something I'm not sure about, I'm like, you're over my pay grade. Go, I want to work with this therapist and that, and I'm going to talk to her and see if you can come back and I can just be a support for now. I won't, it's really important. I'm not out for the buck.
And you're kind of like the Yoda or the Jedi of this industry.
I'd like to think so.
So you as the teacher, do you still learn? Do you have somebody that you go see once in a while to like recalibrate?
I pay. I have another Hypnofit practitioner in Palm Springs, and I see her twice a week.
Okay.
We have a Zoom session Monday and Thursday morning. It's 7 o'clock her time, 10 o'clock my time. We talk, and I have the woman in Boca Raton. I talk to her once a month and go over, or if as needed. And then the woman in Australia, I pay a monthly fee to see her twice a month for mentoring sessions, for maintenance, for anything that's coming up, something that didn't quite work, constantly. Know who you're going to.
Right.
Get
Do your homework.
Do
Yeah.
your homework. These people you're trusting with your mental capacity.
So what is it? What do you charge? What does it cost? Is this something people can afford, or is it like only rich people can do this?
It used to be when I was in LA, it was something that only rich people could afford. And not really. I mean, it would be like $1,200, $2,000, $3,000 in there, and it was, LA. It's whatever
Right. Right.
whatever. I moved here, and also doing this work to me is so important now that I've just seen the massive change. I lowered my things to $60 a session.
$60 a session.
So you have to. We go in there, and it's either going to be 7, 9, or 12. So even if you take 12, say what is that, $720
Right.
for the whole program, and it's a total fix.
So for the people that are listening right now, obviously this should be for anybody. It doesn't seem like it seems like this.
First.
Yeah.
You should try this first, and then if this doesn't work for you, and you don't get your, this. Then go take all the pills and go to the doctor and lay on the couch for 20 years. Why not try something that's
But even people that
long?
seem like they have things going right in their life, it seems like this could only enhance. It's kind of like putting a booster on an already nice looking car.
Totally. It's just, and then you know what I've done, because it is so new and people are like, I don't know. I'm like, just pay 4 sessions, 4 sessions, 4 sessions. Not working.
Right.
I can prove myself in the first 2 sessions.
That way there's no major investment.
And I'm like, if you want to give me $240, we'll work. And if you don't come back.
I mean, $240, you're going to spend that in a week or a month going out drinking, on your cigarettes.
And that's and then I've never had someone, I have had one person not come back, but it wasn't because she had other issues.
Right.
And it was business and work, and she moved away, and I don't know what happened. And that was kind of in the beginning too. And I'm so confident in this program. I'm just like, pay for 4 sessions. I'll do the and see, it takes me a long time because I find out what's wrong, and I have to write the scripts. I put everything in. It can take me 3 to 5 hours between our sessions. You come in, lay down, and then leave.
Yep.
And
people don't see the work behind the scenes.
And, things have to be said a certain way. You're it's just, I put a lot of effort into each client. And, it just gives me such joy to see when people are.
So it's therapeutic for you as well.
It's the most selfish career in the world. My heart just swells when someone calls me and says, I just got engaged. I didn't think I'd even ever date again. It's just amazing.
Well, I think you had told me there was something we were going to do potentially for anybody that comes to you through the podcast or YouTube channel. You said we could pick one person and give them, I think what was the minimal amount of sessions?
The minimum amount of sessions would be 7.
Okay, so on the 7 sessions, did you say there was one person that could take advantage of that?
I believe in this program so much. If someone a listener you believe, someone that's stuck, I will do a program on them gratis with the, that you'll recommend.
All the bells and whistles.
Yeah, I will do it because I guarantee
Okay.
this program. If the person will go along with it,
Right,
and be into it, like if you force someone to
Yeah,
go and they don't
somebody's
really
gotta
wanna
need it.
go, somebody that says, I want to try this and my pain, I'm done. I want to get better. I'm like, and my first question is, how much does this matter to you? And they say, I'm at a 10. It's this. I can't go on anymore. I'm miserable, and that's my client. I don't want someone who's like, I'll try this,
Right.
I'll try that, I'll try.
Well, so we're gonna put that out on the podcast. Somebody that's going through some kind of issues, they've got something that's really kind of corrupting or upsetting or interfering with your life, and you can't get past it. You're blocked in somehow. Reach out, and if we feel you're a good fit, we'll put them in touch with you.
Absolutely.
And see how it goes.
It would be my pleasure.
So, Alexandra, how can people find you? What's the best way? Do you have any social media links?
Yeah, I'm unfortunately, social media is not my wheelhouse, so I don't have, I have like a Instagram thing that I posted twice on, but I'm trying to hypnotize and help people, so forgive me for that. Go to heal.me/hypnofit.
And we'll drop that in there for everybody to find.
And then you can go, it'll take you right to my page. There's a 45-minute free consultation to see. Like I said, you can start out with this $240, get 4 sessions, prove it for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I'll tell you, if I didn't have to eat and put a roof over my head, I would just do this. I would just do this because it's
believe in it that much.
Oh, it's joyful.
Well, Alexandra, I can't thank you enough for coming out and sharing this with everybody. And I think it's important for people to know they don't have to live here. They can be anywhere, do it Zoom.
I had
but you do.
Australia last night.
But you do have an office where people can come see you.
I have 3 separate offices: Melbourne, downtown, Merritt Island, and I have a home office.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. It's been awesome. Hopefully you'll come back once this thing gets going off the ground.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, and I love the good work you're doing.